It's Tuesday. Joining us now, Frank Bordeaux. He's the chairman of the Mississippi Republican Party. Thanks for coming in, Frank. I know you're running today, man. Busy.
Running around. Thank
Good.
you for having me.
You bet. So, Election Day, we got a few elections across the state. We got a couple of Senate seats, right? Special elections.
You have some special elections. You have Macomb. They are having their municipals today, and obviously in Hinds County, a big sheriff's race. And so it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out.
Yeah. And some municipal elections that we're tracking as well. But all eyes, we've been talking about it on the show quite a bit, including today, are on Virginia.
Virginia is very important. Obviously, Mississippians, I'm very proud. Mississippians have been calling out in Virginia. We have Mississippians on the ground knocking doors, all volunteer. And so Mississippi's done our part. And so we're excited about it. And I think hopefully tonight will be a great night. I'm hoping the Braves win, and then I hope we take over that governor's seat in Virginia.
That'd be fantastic.
Yes, sir.
That'd be two great scores for tonight. I was just talking, Frank, about what is such a visible contrast between the candidates, and I like to believe that it is a contrast of the parties and philosophy and style, if you will. But I watched the rallies of the two sort of side by side, Youngkin and McAuliffe. There's no energy at the McAuliffe rally. There's no enthusiasm. There's nothing positive. It's all negative. It's all dire, and it's obsession with Donald Trump.
That's right. He's running against Donald Trump, and I have not, like you said, I've not heard him talk about any policy issues that are positive. He's talking about the past. He's talking about Donald Trump. He ought to be running against Donald Trump. I don't even hear him talk about his opponent very often. And then on the contrast, you're hearing from the Republican side a vision for the future. And keep in mind, it wasn't very long ago that Terry had a 40% lead, and that's when gas prices were the same they were during Donald Trump's era.
Yeah.
Now we've gotten to where we are now. We're seeing, between McAuliffe believing that parents have no right,
to their children's education.
That's right. And the Biden policies, you're seeing a complete collapse in a very bright blue state. And hopefully we can turn it red tonight.
Well, we're going to be watching Fairfax and Loudoun counties.
That's
because right. if it's close in Fairfax, if there's not some big gap, he wins. Loudoun already is fairly close. It's a little bit more evenly split than Fairfax. Those are the two big blue counties, of course, the population centers. But when those returns start coming in, and it looks like it's trending positive in Loudoun for Youngkin, it's over. It's over at that point.
That's right.
It's often said that these sorts of races are won and lost with women voters in the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's fair to say, Frank, that when government starts exceeding its bounds when it comes to interacting with their children, which happens in public schools more than any other place, you've just stoked them up somewhat, and that's exactly what's happened. This is out of control. It is completely inappropriate for McAuliffe to say, oh, no, parents, they don't have a right to know what's being taught to their kids. That's just BS, big time, and I hope it burns them.
Oh, no question. And look, if you try to get between my wife and her children, she's going to see red, and I know every mother's like that.
Sure.
And they have accomplished something. A year ago, almost to the date, 363 days ago, Biden was winning in Virginia by 20 points.
Yeah.
And this is where we've gone, and it's purely because of their words, their policies. And I do believe that there is a positive. If you look to see what's happened over the past 18, 24 months, in red states, you've seen success. In blue states, you've seen failure. You've seen mandates. You've seen bad policy after bad policy. And the people of America are seeing it. And those mothers, they're definitely seeing it.
The thing that caught my attention yesterday, I don't know if you've seen this, was an NPR Marist poll. which typically is polling from voters who are left-leaning. Mm-hmm. But they polled Republicans and Democrats. And one of the questions I thought was really interesting was in the 2024 cycle at the top of the ticket for president, would you like to see Biden? That question was asked. Or someone else? And the Democrats overwhelmingly said someone else. Now, what's going on here? I'm getting fired up because it's like, where the heck were you a year ago?
That's right. But who is that somebody else?
I don't know.
I mean, if you look at their bench, is it going to be Pete Buttigieg that takes 6 months off in the middle of a crisis? I mean, who do they have? And so I think generic Democrat probably polls pretty well amongst Democrats, but if you start throwing their slate of possible candidates, they don't fare very well compared to our slate of candidates. And I think we look good in 2024.
No, I do too. And, of course, right now the focus is on Virginia, but then 2022. But this is going to tell us a lot. Even Kamala, I mentioned that earlier in the show, she even said, what happens in this race, and she was kind of boasting about it, fully expecting McAuliffe is going to win in resounding fashion. Oh yeah, this is a foretelling of 2022. I agree. I think it is. But even if it's close, it's bad for Democrats in 22.
Right. If New Jersey is close, if
governor's race there,
if Virginia is close, I think it's very, very bad for 2022 Democrats.
Yeah, I do too. And he doesn't say a lot about it, but Youngkin comes from the private sector. Mm-hmm. And he shared over the weekend his story of how he got involved in the race. He's not a politician. He just comes from the private sector. He was CEO of Carlyle Group, a private equity firm. I've actually had some dealings with him. It's a fine firm. And he just told his wife, I can't sit back and watch it anymore after he saw McAuliffe. And he says, we got to have somebody that can get in there and change things. So he's been used to signing the front of the check, and he's invested in companies and produced lots of value and wealth for a lot of people. That's the way it should be. McAuliffe's career politician doesn't know squat.
That's right.
At the end of the day.
I mean, and if you listen to his lines are so old, the entire Democrat Party is probably a little bit embarrassed about some of the things that they're saying. They're bringing back old, tired rhetoric, and I do believe our party and the young folks that are coming up in our party, they're sending a good, positive message. So.
I'm seeing more young people along those lines. We'll pivot there to your work in the state, and we appreciate that. I'm seeing more interest from the young folks, and it seems like we sort of got the long-standing Republicans, a bit of a gap in the middle, but we're seeing some young folks, teens and through the college years, they're starting to trend more towards our party and our ideals. Do you sense that as well?
We definitely sense that. And I just left a meeting, and we were talking about the importance. One thing that we have focused on in Mississippi, we have such a great junior college program in Mississippi.
Yeah.
And we have really focused on getting in those campuses. These are children that are, in many cases, paying their way to school.
Yeah.
They're working. They're already in the workforce. They're seeing the bad policies that's coming out of Washington, D.C. firsthand. And we've seen a lot of energy on our junior colleges across our state, as well as our senior colleges. But we're seeing a lot more energy, a lot more. And we have I believe next Monday, we have a group of young Republicans that are coming up, and you're seeing larger numbers when they come up to the headquarters.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's so critical for the strength of our party, and certainly we need them to adopt our principles, but they've just been brainwashed, unfortunately, through the educational establishment, which largely leans to the left. We just need balance. Hey, look at this side. Look at an opposing worldview and make your mind up.
That's right.
I mean, that's what it takes, and so that's refreshing. I know you've been traversing the state. I caught you at a Rankin County Republican Women event last week. Appreciate you being there and talking about raising money for the party. Tell us about that.
We're raising money. We've been very blessed. The RNC has, with the help of former Governor Barber and former Senator Trent Lott, working with the RNC, they have committed a tremendous amount of money to our party, gauged directly towards either our building or building data. And I believe both of those items are important. But we are raising money. I'd encourage everybody to go on our website.
Give it to us.
MSGOP.org. Go join the URF. We need as many members as we can get.
Appreciate that, Frank, and appreciate your tireless efforts to build our party up. And we'll look forward to what happens tonight. We'll talk to you about that soon. Appreciate you coming in, man.
Thank you, Gerard.
You bet. Frank Bordeaux, chairman of the Mississippi GOP, has been